The FBI is the most sophisticated law enforcement agency in the world, pursuing the most dangerous criminals. When two little girls vanish from a small California town,
there was evil lurking somewhere in the Bay Area. We did not have a handle on it.
the Bureau mobilizes.
I can't help but take these cases personally. And this particular case changed me.
It's a race against time to stop a violent child predator.
We can't let this happen again. Not on our watch.
FBI. Criminal Pursuit. December 10th, 1999, Vallejo, California, 30 miles northeast of San Francisco. Vallejo Police Detective Steve Fowler and his partner respond to a disturbing call. 7-year-old Zeanna Fairchild never came home from school that afternoon. Upon questioning, her mother reports that school officials told her Zeanna never showed up for class that morning.
At that point, we knew we had not just your typical missing child that's either, in the house somewhere or at a friend's house. She was supposed to be at school.
As detectives turn their attention to her mother's live-in boyfriend, they learn that he may have been the last person to have seen Zeanna.
He told us basically that since it was raining, he dropped Zeanna off at the bus stop, which was approximately 5 blocks from the residence.
Vallejo police know they must act immediately, and they put out the call to the only federal agency highly trained in child abduction cases, the FBI. Special Agent Peter French, a violent crime expert in the Bureau's Sacramento office, is assigned to the case. He knows Zeanna is now in grave danger.
Statistics show that within those first 48 hours, the victim is met with foul play. If you are going to have any possible positive resolution, meaning you recover the victim alive, your best bet is to recover them within those first 48 hours.
As the team continues to question the family, they find out that Zeanna was raised by her great-aunt, Stephanie Kahale Kulu, after her mother gave birth to her in prison.
She was a very caring and happy little girl. She'd do things, she'd pick little flowers and give them to people. I always cared about people.
Detectives learn that Zeanna recently moved into her mother's cramped apartment. It's the first time they'd ever lived together, and their home life was far from normal.
The studio apartment had a very small closet. I would estimate 2 feet by 5 feet in dimension, which we discovered turned out to be her sleeping quarters. She slept on a bedroll on the floor of this closet that had clothing in it, hanging above her head.
Neighbors paint an even more disturbing picture. They report drug-fueled sex parties and how Zeanna's mother would often leave her daughter unattended for hours, even forgetting to take her to school.
We were concerned that maybe someone that they associated with in the lifestyle that they chose may have been responsible.
As they work feverishly to find Zeanna, investigators are reminded of a rash of child abductions in Northern California since 1983. Special Agent Marty Parker specializes in child abduction cases. She's been investigating the disappearance of a 7-year-old hearing-impaired girl from a nearby town in 1988.
Child abductions are probably the most difficult investigations there are. You have no evidence sometimes. You just have someone who has vanished into thin air. And so where do you start?
During the past 10 years, numerous children have been kidnapped in the area. Some remain missing. Others were killed, including Mark Klass's daughter, Polly, who in 1993 was abducted from a slumber party and found murdered a few days later.
The names roll off of your tongue. It's Michaela, it's Eileen, it's Amber, it's Polly, it's Kevin. It's just one after another after another. I think that people were crestfallen and heartbroken that this was a situation that might never get resolved.
Mark now runs Class Kids, a leading child advocate organization designed to help parents when a child goes missing, like Zeanna Fairchild.
The first thing we did was create a missing child flyer for this little girl that could pass some kind of a stink test so that it would tell who this girl was, what she looked like, the circumstances of her disappearance, and the details of her physical appearance.
Class Kids organizes a search team of 700 volunteers and helps raise money for a substantial reward. Meanwhile, detectives turn once again to Zeanna's mother and her boyfriend, and what they hear raises even more questions.
Zeanna's mother's boyfriend provided no fewer than 3 inconsistent statements in the initial part of the investigation.
Initially, the mother's boyfriend claimed that he drove Zeanna to the bus stop the morning of her disappearance. Now, 2 weeks later, he's telling a different story.
The truth was that Zeanna walked out of that apartment complex by herself that day. You know, her mother's boyfriend went out the back door, got in his car, and went off to work that morning.
With each lie, investigators are encouraged that they might finally have a viable suspect in the boyfriend. And their suspicions deepen when they run a criminal history on him. They learn that a former girlfriend accused him of molesting her son.
Every time we turned over a rock, it led to another lead, if you will. And it led to some very troubling facts that if we ignored, we would not have been doing our jobs as investigators.
More than 3 weeks after Zeanna's disappearance, investigators execute a warrant to search her mother's apartment. There, they make a stunning discovery.
Why are you here? You should be out there looking for my daughter.
And we have people looking everywhere, at the school, the bus stop.
Along with sex toys and drug paraphernalia. Inside the washing machine, they find the same outfit Zeanna was reportedly wearing the day she vanished. Detectives noticed that the clothes had already been cleaned, as though whoever kidnapped her was trying to wash away any trace evidence. Investigators feel Zeanna's mother and her boyfriend have a lot to answer for.
We decided at that point in the very initial part of the investigation that he must have something to do with it, or else he wouldn't have made those statements. He wouldn't have lied to us.
The boyfriend agrees to take a polygraph test, and after several hours, they have the results. His answers are deceptive, only furthering their suspicion that he is somehow involved in Zeanna's disappearance. But investigators know that polygraphs aren't admissible in court. They need hard evidence to win a conviction, and for now, they don't have any. While keeping the heat on Zeanna's mother and her boyfriend, the team begins to look for other suspects.
My experience has been as an investigator, you want to keep a completely open mind about who is involved, who may be responsible. The second you develop preconceived notions about who your subject or subjects may be, you limit your ability to pursue where the leads should take you.
They widen their search to encompass all of Vallejo and find the area is overrun with convicted felons.
A lot of the released prisoners migrate into Vallejo Other prisoners from around the state are paroled into Vallejo, so it tends to be a really hard-luck community.
A search for sex offenders within a mile of Zeanna's home reveals the area is overrun with likely suspects.
She left home and walked a route that passed the residences of 100 sex offenders before she got to her bus stop.
That was devastating to our case. That meant contacting each and every registered sex offender in that mile area. We were discovering a lot more than we ever thought was possible in such a small part of the town. It was daunting.
One man in particular catches investigators' attention.
We identified a subject that stayed the night in the studio apartment with Zeanna and her mother and boyfriend. We identified him as having a relationship with an underage girl. And now, obviously, we have a potential pedophile that's associated with the family.
Investigators arrest the man, hoping he'll cooperate, but their hopes are short-lived.
We were hoping at that point to use his cooperation to identify the boyfriend's actions. He was not cooperative enough with us to even count him out as a suspect.
Against all odds, Zeanna's great-aunt desperately tries to remain optimistic.
I'd try and talk to her and hope she'd hear me. I truly thought she had walked off somewhere. Someone was gonna run into her on the street and be nice enough to bring her back.
But investigators aren't as hopeful.
Time is not on our side. Everybody wants to recover the child as quickly as possible. Not only so the child remains alive, but the horrible things that predators and kidnappers will do to young children is beyond belief.
As days turn into weeks and weeks into months, the chance of finding Zeanna grows increasingly dim. And the investigation is about to take a terrifying turn.
I felt like my heart was in my shoes. I felt like, oh no, here we go again.
August 10th, 2000. 9 months after the disappearance of 7-year-old Zeanna Fairchild, the FBI and local law enforcement have their sights set on those closest to the young girl.
You work the case from the inside out, meaning that you start from the family of the victim. You have to rule them out. Most abductions involve either a direct family member or a relative or a mom or a dad.
Investigators zero in on a key suspect, Zeanna's mother's live-in boyfriend, who has been feeding them inconsistent stories from day one. They've got the couple under 24-hour surveillance, hoping to find some answers. But then, the investigation takes a sudden, unexpected turn.
Like it? The curl? Great.
In an upscale part of town, Susanna Velasco is rushing to finish styling a client's hair when the phone rings.
Hello?
It's her 8-year-old daughter Midsy's birthday, and the family has a big party planned.
Midsy's not with me.
Susanna's son tells her that Midsy hasn't come home from school yet. Midsy usually walks home with her older brother. But it seems that afternoon, she didn't wait for him.
I'll be right there.
Susanna and her husband frantically search for Midsy for nearly 2 hours before calling the police.
They were kind of doing their own investigation from about 3:30 on to about 5:50 when it was out of control for them. And they were really in panic mode by the time we got the call.
Vallejo police detective Lee Horton is dispatched to help search for the little girl.
We went back to the school, talked to the principal, talked to the teachers, got a list of all the kids in class, and started making phone calls to them to make sure Midsy had not gone home with any of them.
Across town, Detective Steve Fowler is working Zeanna's case, tailing her mother and her live-in boyfriend.
At that point, our investigation was so focused on the boyfriend, we knew where he was. We knew where she was, Zeanna's mother. They didn't do it. So then something very scary for investigators happened, that we may be looking at the wrong people.
The investigation is back to square one, and time is running out.
Because Zeanna hadn't been found yet, we knew that if we didn't get on this right away, I mean, we were afraid that this was going to happen again.
We had the FBI's help for months and months and months at this time, and now we need them again. And we need them right now. We need all their bodies back down here. And to get that entire machine in motion takes a lot.
FBI Special Agent Peter French races to investigate, starting with Midsy's family.
Midsy seems like a happy kid. They seem like just a normal, typical family in Vallejo. She was a kid with a lot of moxie and a lot of spirit.
Even Midsy's name is a testament to her tight-knit family. It's a combination of the first initials of her parents' and siblings' names. M for sister Monica, I and D for brothers Ishmael and David, and S for mother Susanna. It's impossible to believe that a girl like Midsy, with so many people who care for her, could be gone in a blink.
People of Vallejo were scared. The surrounding communities were afraid. Imagine within a period of 8-9 months, 2 kids that were walking, one was going to school and the other was walking home from school, all of a sudden disappeared.
We couldn't believe that another girl had gone missing, especially when her physical description, her height, her weight, her skin tone, her hair was almost identical to Zeanna's.
The similarities between the two girls signals to investigators that they may be dealing with a serial predator.
At that point, we think 8 months worth of focusing on the wrong people. We have a predator out there that's grabbing children, and maybe not just in Vallejo. Those of us that were on the stranger angle were tasked with ramping up our investigation.
Mere hours after Midsy is reported missing, her case is upgraded to a confirmed kidnapping. Agents believe they're dealing with a sexual deviant who is not likely to let his victims escape alive.
Once the children get a little older, especially girls, it's more of a sexually motivated thing. And these people, usually men, will abduct these children, sexually assault them, and typically try to get rid of them as quickly as possible. That's why we say we have pretty much a 24-hour window to find these children before it's a very good possibility they'll be dead.
Soon, news of the abduction spreads, and residents of Vallejo are gripped with outrage and fear.
The mood of the town after Midsy was kidnapped, I would say, was right on the brink of anarchy.
The nearby communities have been plagued with child abductions, one every few years. Now, 2 little girls have gone missing in only 8 months.
My heart sank. It really did, because Zeanna was still missing, and it now seemed to be at an accelerated pace, and it was absolutely heartbreaking, because we thought we would get another either unresolved case or another dead child.
The FBI and local police believe a serial predator has kidnapped 2 little girls in the town of Vallejo, California. 7-year-old Zeanna Fairchild has been missing for about 9 months. while 8-year-old Mity Sanchez has been missing for only 24 hours. Both girls bear a strong resemblance and are close in age. Investigators fear this predator won't stop abducting little girls until he is captured or killed.
We're sitting here feeling powerless, going, God, we can't let this happen again. It's already happened once, we can't let it happen again. Not on our watch.
I have 2 daughters and a son, and I put myself in the shoes of those parents. And they're going through torture. They're going through absolute hell.
For now, investigators are flying blind, without any solid leads to go on. They're entirely unaware that Midsy is in fact still in the area and still alive. A day after she was kidnapped on her 8th birthday, the most horrifying day of her life.
I was pretty close to home, and I remember seeing this car parked on the side of the road, and I noticed that there was a man inside. It was just something weird about that car and about him. I remember seeing him looking through his rearview mirror, and as I got closer, I think his eyes were just kind of glued on me. As I got closer to the car, he walked over to the sidewalk. He had a cane in his hand, and he said, I need your help. I hurt my leg in a motorcycle accident. I need you to get something for me.
The man asks Midsy to retrieve a roll of duct tape from the passenger side of his car.
And I said, okay, I'm gonna help this guy, and I'm gonna be on my way. As I went to grab it, he leaned over me, and I just remember feeling his body on my back, and then he reached over and put his hands around my mouth. He threw me in the car, shut the door. I tried opening it, didn't open from the inside. It seemed like he had jimmied it up or something. I remember driving off in the opposite direction from my house, and I looked back at my parents' house, just wishing that I was there already. I couldn't believe that this was happening. I just couldn't believe it. I was being kidnapped.
With every minute that ticks by, investigators know the chances of finding Midsy alive drop dramatically. And they step up their search.
The calls kept coming in fast and furious for Midsy.
We set up a command post right there by Midsy's house. We had volunteers coming up to help us form search teams, and we started checking for sex registrants in the area, and we had officers detailed to go and make contact with these folks.
Residents are on edge, and investigators struggle to find any viable leads.
And we were so frustrated, and it was a palpable sense of fear.
And now we have to explain to our citizenry that we have things under control. It was a very difficult time in the city. People were scared.
But no one is more terrified than Midsy, locked inside her abductor's car in a busy parking lot.
He found a place for us to park, and that was where he had me change into a different pair of clothes. He jumped out to smoke a cigarette. I remember him jumping back in the car, and I didn't say anything. I didn't want to talk to him. I just kind of kept to myself.
He forces her to put makeup on, and she obliges, having no idea what he has in store for her.
I remember him pulling out a bottle of some kind of alcohol. He took a shot of whatever the alcohol was and then told me to. He didn't threaten me at that point. I just knew that I was with this man that I didn't know. I knew he was bad. I had no idea what his intentions were at that time. So I did everything he said.
Midsy's kidnapper drives from parking lot to parking lot, while investigators tried desperately to get a handle on her whereabouts.
The whole city mobilized around this thing, and people were showing up at the command post. What can we do? Can we help? Can we help, search? We did a phone tree system. We put out alerts to the media with a picture of her, and this is her description. We were completely mobilized to try to find this girl.
We were knocking on doors, asking people if they'd seen anything whatsoever. In fact, the Vallejo Police Department put up a roadblock, just stopping motorists and asking them for any assistance they had and if they saw anything.
But by now, the roadblock is of little use. Midsy's kidnapper is already miles away, heading out of town on the highway. He turns into a rest area overlooking Vallejo, parks the car, and covers the windows and the windshield. No one can see in, and Midsy can't get out.
He did chain me up to the gear shift. He had a small padlock and he tied it so tight that, it left dents in my left leg. So that was his way of keeping me, making sure that I wasn't gonna go anywhere. He had me chained up like a dog. I didn't want to close my eyes. I didn't want to be caught off guard. I don't know, I was afraid to sleep. He kind of knocked out for a minute, but I remember laying there with my eyes closed, and he had jumped over into the passenger seat and he began to molest me.
Midsy's ordeal is only just beginning. And as night turns to morning, investigators know that time is running out. They need to expand their search to have any hope of finding Midsy alive. Class Kids quickly mobilizes a search party, while scent dogs and rescue helicopters move between Midsy's home and her elementary school.
But once Zeanna disappeared and then Midsy disappeared, I think people realized that there was evil lurking somewhere in the Bay Area and that we did not have a handle on it.
The fear of the folks of Vallejo, and not just Vallejo, but of most of Solano County and some of the Bay Area, was devastating.
Listen to me. If you try to escape, I will kill you.
And by now, Midsy has been gone for more than 24 hours, shackled to the steering column of a car that is constantly on the move.
He said, if you try to run, I have a gun in my trunk and I'm gonna shoot you. I didn't know what to expect, so I was just expecting the worst. I asked God to let my sister know that I was sorry for bugging her and her friends all the time. I think it was me asking for forgiveness. Of course, that 8-year-old is innocent, but in my mind, I thought that I was bad or that I did something wrong. I had that feeling that I was never gonna see my family again.
8-year-old Mity Sanchez has been chained inside a car by a sexual predator for more than 24 hours now. And as they move from parking lot to parking lot, the frightened third grader hopes someone might see her.
Nobody even turned their head to look. That kind of broke my heart. I was just wanting so bad for someone to see me so I could send some kind of message. I'm in trouble, help me or something. No one paid attention.
Midsy's kidnapper knows there's an army of investigators not far behind.
He would cover up the windows and he would leave me in the car chained up and would go watch my family on the news and just keep up on what's going on or if anyone was looking for me.
Midsy and her captor never stop in one place long enough for investigators to catch up. And at another parking lot, he begins his torture all over again.
Drink it. Drink it now.
He forces her to drink root beer schnapps and tries to have sex with her, but can't. And it makes him angry.
I didn't know what he was gonna try to do next. I didn't want to look at him. I didn't want to look in the car. I just kind of kept my head up, just wishing that I was home. I couldn't take my eyes off of the stars. That was like my escape. I was exhausted, I was worn out, I was dirty. But I knew that I couldn't let my guard off. I knew I had to stay up and be awake for whatever it was to come.
Meanwhile, FBI agents and local police have spent 2 desperate nights searching for Midsy.
This is a little girl. Well, a lot of us at that time, we had kids that age, so we were on a mission.
It's been nearly 2 days in captivity, and Midsy fears her abductor has something more sinister in mind. As they pull into an industrial area, she believes he plans to silence her forever.
Don't move. Don't go anywhere. Be quiet.
Every time he would leave, he would always say, don't peek out the windows, don't get up, don't move.
She overhears him speaking to another man. He asks the guy for money and for some large plastic bags. Bags big enough to fit a small body. Midsy consents that the end is very near.
He left for just a few minutes, but came right back. He opened up the passenger side door and leaned over me and dropped something. And he said, don't look there. So after he left, of course, I jumped over the seat and went to go see what he dropped off, and it was a ring of keys.
Could these be the keys to her freedom?
I immediately tried the smallest key. It just made sense that that key would fit, and it did. I unlocked the padlock, and I couldn't believe that it just unlocked. I had the key to the shackles that were around my ankle. I didn't know what to do next. I was scared, so I locked it back up again. And I kind of just sat there for a second thinking, trying to get an idea of where he was at.
She doesn't hear him and decides to go for it.
So I just unlocked the padlock and took the chain off of my leg, and I rolled the window, the passenger side window down, and I jumped out. My knees almost hit the floor. I was just so weak and tired, and I started walking towards the chute. I didn't know where I was going. I just knew that I was out of that car and I was gonna get away.
But just when she thinks she's escaped, he sees her and tries to chase her down. Will she get away?
There he was with his cane, and he was limping, yelling at me to come back, and I remember turning back, looking at him, and I just said, no.
After nearly 2 days in captivity, 8-year-old Mity Sanchez seizes the opportunity to escape. But just as she makes a break for it, Midsy's kidnapper tries to stop her.
Hey! Get back here! No, I'm not coming back!
She heads towards the street looking for help.
Cars were driving by and nobody was stopping, and I crossed the street, and this big 18-wheeler comes up on us, and I just jumped right in front of him, and I flagged him down, and he stopped for me. So I ran right up to his door. I jumped through the window onto his lap, and I said, "My name is Mity Sanchez. I've been kidnapped. I'm from Vallejo."
The predator limps back to his car, and as he drives away, the quick-thinking truck driver relays the license plate to his dispatcher.
I felt safe. I felt safe at that point.
The officers who recover Midsy put in a call to investigators at Vallejo PD. They've been working overtime to bring Midsy home. And when they hear the unexpected news, the investigators are overwhelmed.
Euphoria. Absolute euphoria. This is one of those few occasions when the victim was alive, albeit she went through a horrific experience, but she was alive.
I was so excited about the fact that this girl got away. We were so happy. We're like, wow, unbelievable.
8-year-old Mity Sanchez is reunited with her family after being kidnapped on her birthday 2 days before.
Once I was brought into the house, the whole block and everyone that was inside of the house and outside of the house and all up and down the street got together, and they all sang happy birthday to me.
But while they celebrate her safe return, investigators know their job is far from over. Another family will go to bed without their little girl.
The whole city was celebrating. The problem was that Zeanna Fairchild was still missing.
Investigators are more concerned than ever that the predator who took Mity Sanchez may have also abducted 7-year-old Zeanna Fairchild, the Vallejo girl who went missing 8 months before Midsy. And this evil abductor is still on the loose.
The vehicle description's out, he's on the run, so we were kind of hoping he's bedded down somewhere.
California plate, 6K0.
A quick search for the plate reveals the vehicle belongs to a former cab driver named Curtis Dean Anderson, a 39-year-old sexual predator with 2 rape charges and a history of kidnapping. The FBI hopes if they find Anderson, they will get some answers about Zeanna.
The question was, where was Zeanna? And the only key to unlocking that door would be through Mr. Anderson, or through some piece of evidence that we could find in his car.
7 hours after Midsy's escape, investigators track Anderson's car to a girlfriend's house. There, they arrest him and charge him with kidnapping, aggravated sexual assault of a minor, rape, and other molestation charges. FBI Special Agent Chris Hopkins, a forensics expert, is called in to process the car.
Oh, wow. Did you see the chain?
It was horrendous how much junk was in that car, and immediately assumed that Curtis Dean Anderson had been living in this vehicle for some time.
Our clothes are here.
They scour every inch of the vehicle, hoping to find anything that could lead to Zeanna.
We end up finding ropes, chains, locks, keys, bungee cords, knives, duct tape. All those items are what we associate with things that we call abduction kits.
The agents' hopes are dashed when they find no evidence linking Anderson's vehicle to Zeanna. But they still believe he kidnapped the missing 7-year-old. More than a year after Zeanna's disappearance, a worker discovers a small skull in the Santa Cruz Mountains, about 20 miles from Anderson's trailer park home. Investigators compare dental records and DNA. It's Zeanna. A crushing blow to her family.
During that time, I think there was still a disbelief. I was going through the motions, but there was part of me that was hoping they were wrong still.
In May 2001, Curtis Dean Anderson is convicted and later sentenced to 251 years in prison for the kidnapping of Mity Sanchez. Soon after, Anderson confesses to Zeanna's kidnapping and brutal murder. Anderson had made prior contact with Zeanna in his cab. He gave her candy and quarters, and she told him that she was going to Disneyland with her grandmother later that week.
And she was walking all by herself in downtown Vallejo on her way to the bus stop. He grabbed his opportunity.
Hey, Zeanna, your grandma wants me to pick you up.
He grabbed her, told her, "Your grandmother wants me to take you to Disneyland now." And she went with him. He had her for 2 weeks in his apartment in San Jose, chained inside his closet. After 2 weeks of doing what he was doing with her in his apartment, he decided that he was going to kill her. So he drove up off Highway 17 above Lexington Reservoir in the Santa Cruz Mountains and pulled off on the side of the road where there was a deep ravine, and he slit her throat and threw her over the canyon.
Anderson's confession enables him to escape the death penalty. Now, with nothing to lose, Anderson keeps talking to FBI Special Agent Marty Parker. He admits to the murder of the young hearing-impaired girl that has been a mystery in the area since 1988.
From all the homework that we had done, we knew that he probably was responsible. Finally, we can give this family some peace and finally close this case.
In 2005, Anderson is convicted and sentenced to 50 years to life for the murder of Zeanna Fairchild.
One of the things that Anderson told us is that if we released him from prison that day, tomorrow he would find another victim. And that's something that we always know to be true about these predators, but to have him actually say that to you is just chilling.
Curtis Dean Anderson dies in prison of natural causes in December 2007. Investigators credit Mity Sanchez, now 22, with saving the lives of countless girls.
When Mity Sanchez escaped, she saved not only her life, but the lives of other girls that I'm convinced Curtis Anderson would have abducted, sexually assaulted, and murdered.
My healing comes from helping other families. And the more I tell my story, the more that I help, the less power that has on me.